Crime 101 opens with a voiceover, and just then we see Mike Davis preparing for something serious. He loads his gun carefully, checks it, and then heads out. Mike now arrives at a parking lot. He enters his car, activates a tracker to locate his buddy, and then starts driving. After successfully tracking the person, he spots him on the road. Mike drives toward him, overtakes him, and positions himself ahead. We then shift to two insurance officers entering a jewelry shop to collect a diamond delivery. They speak briefly inside and receive the secured diamonds. Back with Mike and his target, Mike stops his car ahead of the man and puts on a mask. He creates a situation to bait the man into stepping out of his vehicle to check what the issue is. As soon as the man approaches, Mike pulls a gun on him. He searches him thoroughly, removes his belongings, and then orders him to get inside the trunk of the car. Mike takes the man's tracking device and then drives away with him locked inside. Back with the insurance officers, after collecting the diamonds, they leave the store and begin driving. Mike follows them closely. When they both come to a stop, Mike steps out and points a gun at them. He shows them photos of their house and tells them his partner is parked across the street from their home, which is covered by an insurance policy just like the diamonds they are holding. The officers panic. Mike collects the diamonds from them calmly. After the operation, he goes back and releases the man he had locked in the trunk earlier. The entire mission goes according to plan until the final moment. Just as Mike is about to leave, one of the insurance officers suddenly pulls out a gun and points it at him. The officer fires but misses. Mike reacts quickly and manages to escape in his car. He drives into a parking lot, covers his getaway vehicle completely, and then switches into another vehicle before leaving. The next scene introduces an insurance agent named Sharon. She visits a wealthy man named Chad to discuss coverage for his expensive paintings. Meanwhile, Detective Mark arrives at the scene of the diamond heist. He speaks with Ben and learns that the thief knew their exact plan and route, which suggests inside information. We then shift back to Mike at his apartment. He empties out all the diamonds and spreads them on a surface. While checking his mask, he notices a blood stain on it. Back at the office, Sharon is asked about the Chad deal. She responds positively and mentions that it went well. She brings up her promotion again, but the topic is avoided and not properly discussed. At night, Mike meets with Nick, the man who supplies him with information for his heists. Mike talks about the blood he found on his mask and explains that it came from the gun fired at him during the previous job. They discuss their next heist, and Mike decides to adjust certain parts of the plan himself. We then shift to Sharon in a company meeting. Madeline is introduced as the newest member of the evaluation team. She will now work alongside Sharon, focusing on high-net-worth residential clients. They discuss the large wedding Sharon promised insurance coverage for, one of the biggest weddings the company has ever insured. The diamond heist is brought up during the meeting. Sharon is reassigned from her follow-up duties and asked to pursue this new seven-figure claim. Madeline is given Sharon's former follow-up responsibilities. The next scene shows Mike trying to gather information on Sharon. He pays someone to get details about her. Meanwhile, Nick gives the job he originally planned for Mike to someone else because he believes Mike has lost his nerve. While driving, Mike is suddenly hit from behind by a woman named Maya. She steps out of her car and claims Mike stopped too suddenly. She asks for his insurance details. Mike cannot provide them and instead insists on paying for the damages in cash. Maya refuses and insists on going through the proper process. Meanwhile, Sharon meets with a detective and they talk about the heist. Sharon expresses her belief that it might have been an inside job. We then shift to the detective giving a briefing about a pattern of crimes. He presents an area that has seen 219 robberies in the last 4 years. They remove all robberies where DNA was left at the scene. The remaining robberies form a clear pattern. He explains that the thief always strikes when jewelers are transporting merchandise, and that in every single case the robbery happened along the 101 freeway. Meanwhile, the heist Nick assigned to the new guy is completed successfully, but it does not go smoothly because the briefcase was handcuffed to the target's wrist, creating complications during the robbery. Back at home, Mike texts Maya and asks her out on a dinner date. She replies yes. During dinner, Mike lies and tells Maya that he works in software development. Maya starts to question the date and says she does not feel like they have much in common. She explains she has a rule that if something does not feel right, it is better not to waste each other's time. As the date continues, they ask each other many questions and gradually start connecting better. After Mike drops her off at a nearby store, he hears the news about the heist at a Santa Barbara store. Back with the detective, after hearing about the Santa Barbara robbery, he senses something is wrong because previous robberies never involved anyone getting hurt. At night, Mike confronts Nick about the Santa Barbara heist. He claims he was the one who planned it and demands payment. He warns Nick that if something like that happens again, there will be consequences. The next scene shows Nick assigning the same man another job, this time to follow Mike. Their plan is to let Mike rob a courier and then rob him afterward. Mike later meets the tech guy he hired to get information on Sharon. He's given access to a website containing Sharon's schedule. Mike begins appearing at the same places Sharon visits. Shortly after, he manages to introduce himself to her. They talk about cars and exchange names. Back at home, Mike looks outside and notices the man from the Santa Barbara heist watching him. He immediately senses something is wrong. He goes into his garage and checks underneath his car. He finds a tracking device attached under his vehicle. Realizing he is being monitored, Mike moves into a new apartment. The detective later visits Mike's former parking lot. He notices the covered vehicle. He removes the cover and recognizes it as the same car connected to the heist. Forensics is called immediately. Mike meets Sharon at an art gallery. Sharon believes their meeting is a coincidence. Mike asks her if they can go for a drink. Meanwhile, forensic investigators examine the car and find blood inside. They confirm that there is enough blood to run a DNA test. Back with Mike and Sharon during drinks, Mike admits that their meetings were not coincidences. He proposes a business arrangement. He asks Sharon to provide him with information about high-value clients. Sharon refuses immediately. Mike tells her that if she changes her mind, she should take a picture at the beach and post it on her social media, and he will come find her there. After she leaves, Mike spots the same biker from before. This time he follows him. They engage in a long chase. Eventually, the biker crashes. Mike catches up to him and demands to know who he is working for. We then shift to Sharon attending yoga with a detective. She talks about how stressful her week has been. During the session, the detective receives a call about an ongoing heist. He rushes to the scene. When he arrives, one of his team members has already shot the thief. They remove the mask and discover it is just a young kid. The officer who fired the shot plants a gun in the boy's hand to justify the shooting. In the investigation room, the detective insists on reporting what he truly saw, but he is pressured to align his statement with his partner's version. After refusing to cooperate, he is suspended. Back at the office, Madeline is celebrated for successfully handling the wedding coverage. Sharon does not look happy. She brings up her promotion again, but it is dismissed. This makes her angry. The detective is later seen packing his belongings when forensics arrives with the DNA results. He collects them. Around the same time, Sharon goes to the beach. She takes a picture of her leg and posts it on her social media. Shortly after, Mike receives the notification and heads out. Sharon meets Mike and gives him details about a client with a heist worth $11 million. She demands $3 million as her share. When Mike asks why she changed her mind, she responds that sometimes you realize there is not enough time. The detective meets with a woman and asks her about James Dennis. She seems to recognize the name. It is then revealed that James Dennis is actually Mike. Mike later calls her to check if she is okay, but the detective answers the phone. Mike quickly hangs up. Mike meets Sharon again and gives her a burner phone for their mission. Sharon returns to her apartment, destroys the burner phone as instructed, and goes to throw it away. When she enters back into her apartment, the biker attacks her and demands to know everything she told Mike. In the next scene, Sharon confesses everything to the detective. He asks her to stay at his house for a few days and to tell him everything she shared with Mike. We then see Mike talking with Maya. He tells her he is going out of town for a while. Maya becomes angry and says he has no family photos or real personal history. She leaves him. Mike prepares for his next mission. He dresses up and heads to the airport. He waits for the client, Mr. Forster. When Mr. Forster's security arrives for pickup, Mike pulls a gun on him and threatens him by showing images of his house. In a nearby area, the biker disguises himself as security personnel. Mike is tricked and ends up taking the detective instead of Mr. Forster. Sharon, back at her office, looks completely fed up. She walks straight to Madeline and reveals the truth about the company and how they treated her. The next scene shows Mike and the detective at the final location. Mike robs them of the money and diamonds. Suddenly, the detective pulls out his gun. As they argue and move back and forth, the biker enters to rob Mike as planned. Chaos breaks out in the room. The biker shoots the client. The detective tells him to take what he came for and leave. As the biker orders the detective to drop his gun, Mike uses the distraction and shoots the biker. With the biker dead and the money still intact, the detective tells Mike to get into his car and never return. Since they now have a dead thief and the money is untouched, he allows Mike to leave. Later, the detective meets Sharon after yoga and gives her some diamonds. Maya receives a family photo from Mike. The movie then comes to an end.